next topic is PTSD. What is PTSD and what does it stand for those that don't know?
Post-traumatic stress disorder, and I believe it's a direct result of the trauma that a person has experienced, usually a violent act.
How do you think that affects people that have endured PTSD?
Paranoia, becoming introverted, isolation, fidgety. PTSD can manifest in different variations. Some people's PTSD forced them to stay in the house, and some people have PTSD when they hear loud sounds. They're it'll remind them of war, or gunshots, or combat, or battle. You know what I'm saying? And some people have PTSD from car accidents or physical assault or something like that. So it fluctuates. But in the streets, PTSD also is people having sporadic outbursts, or experiencing anxiety and stuff like that because it's reminiscent of whatever the traumatic experience was. You know what I'm saying? So PTSD also comes from situations you may have witnessed as a child, teenager, an adult, whatever the case may be. So it's different variations of PTSD, but for the most part, it's having a triggering experience that reminds you of the trauma that you went through. For sure, definitely.
Tell me, what do you think the root is of PTSD?
Trauma. The root of PTSD is a traumatic experience and being triggered by something that is reminiscent of you reliving it, definitely.
And have you yourself ever experienced PTSD or anybody close to you that experiences that?
Definitely. I don't like loud sounds. So, due to my experience in the ghetto, in the streets, in the hood or whatever, PTSD. So I don't like loud noises unless it's music. And I don't like being in situations, I'm not claustrophobic, but I don't like being in places that remind me of prison. So certain foods trigger, I'll be damn, just eating that shit in prison, you know what I'm saying? When I was 13, seeing most people come and go. Probably 7, 8 generations of people just gone. So yeah, got PTSD. Also, you can have PTSD from what once was. So when you think of gentrification, you go to a neighborhood, nobody's there. The stress comes from realizing that the world has moved on, but the people who were once there aren't. So it just fluctuates. Could go deeper, but I'm not.
At what time in your life did you realize that you had PTSD?
Early on, say in my late teens, I realized that it was just certain things that would happen. I'd be damn, it reminded me of a traumatic experience. So elementary, I can listen to certain songs and go back and think of elementary, and it definitely triggered something different in me because that was by far the hardest time in my life. And a lot of things that happened in elementary would lead me to be who I am, if that makes sense. I've always been a good student, but I feel in order for me to survive, I had to beast up. You know what I'm saying? I feel it was beast up or be a bitch, and being a bitch wasn't an option. And I'm not saying anybody should have to make that choice, but that's what it was. Which is why I go from charismatic to turning on that switch. If you rub me the wrong way, you know what I'm saying? I bully the bullies. That's how I look at all of it. I don't like bullies at all. Yeah, PTSD can also be converted and conformed into something positive. It fuels me in a positive way. I'm all about turning negatives into positive. So if you rub me the wrong way, PTSD gonna take me back to elementary, and I'm gonna deal with you accordingly.
What are some solutions that you could suggest to people that have to endure PTSD?
I'm gonna go with the politically correct answer, which is counseling, therapy, asking for help. I would say the solution to PTSD is acknowledging what it is and then learning how to deal with it, because some people freak out. Me, I don't have debilitating PTSD episodes. Just more oh shit, this reminds me of such and such. But some people, they just freak out. they go back to reliving the entire situation. Like some people get into car accidents and now they don't want to be in cars. You know what I'm saying? It's different levels to how people deal with it. Some are functioning and then some are debilitating, but it all goes back to the mind, power of the mind, and protecting your mind, healing your mind so that these things are not debilitating.